Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack. Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With the marathon that was the Coke 600 behind us and Nashville on the horizon, Brian and I are in to talk all things Coke 600, what we liked, what we didn't like. A long day of boring racing, question mark. We'll talk about Monaco, Indy, Coke, all that stuff. Need some Coke to stay awake. And then we'll go to Nashville.
Yeah, the soda.
It's a total joke for anyways, I don't want to get banned again. And then we'll turn our attention to Nashville. What's fun? What are we gonna do? Cracker Barrel 400. Do you want to start with the fun stuff, Brian Twining, or do you want to start with the not so fun stuff?
Let's get the bad out of the way first. I always like to do that, and then end on a high note.
Okay. What did we have a really boring Sunday of racing given the potential excitement? Obviously, Monaco is what it is. It's follow leader, and then we're sold a bag of goods on the Indy 500 being the fastest racing on the planet and so exciting. And we had some stuff going on for the Indy 500, and I was pretty bored the whole time.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had the Oilers Stars game to keep me interested, and then the Coke 600 was fine.
People are going to look towards the final, whatever it was, 20 or 25 laps, and they're going to grade based on that. Because if you go and you look at Jeff Gluck's poll, it's getting smashed. Yes.
Well, yeah.
But prior to that,
it was Darlington, honestly, right?
The race was boring. Like, it was boring. You could not pass the leader unless you were on
William Byron leading for 80% of the day. It was Denny Hamlin and William Byron kind of going back and forth. Like that was fun. Stage 4 was amazing. Stage 4 was really fun because Denny and Byron were racing and Hocevar was blowing up and people were moving and shaking and stuff. But it took so long to get there. And like most things, people judge on what they just saw. So yes, I understand.
Okay, so the thing to me, the reason why I thought the race was kind of boring for the first 80% of it is the fact that, yes, over the long run, maybe it wouldn't have stuck, but Tyler Reddick should have been able to pass William Byron numerous times. But the dirty air in this car when they're on equal tires is so bad that you cannot pass. Ross Chastain was able to make the pass because he was on like 3 or 4 lap fresher tires, and he needed to do a slide job. And if this was somebody else, they're probably ass ramming Ross Chastain there and sending him into oblivion. But William Byron is not that kind of racer. Like, that's what it took for him to actually make a pass for the lead. And even Denny and Byron were on different tire strategies with different like ages of their rubbers. So like the fact that you cannot pass when you're on equal tires is what makes it so boring to me, in that it's set up exactly like Denny said on Actions Detrimental a couple weeks ago. NASCAR wanted to give the impression of passing and that it was possible for the lead, when in reality it's not.
Yeah. It was just like a lot of just driving around for a while. And I know they added stage racing to make it more fun, but it was just like Byron.
I mean, look, I'm okay with one guy just kicking the shit out of everybody in a race because they're better, but
was that
better, or was it just clean air? Like,
yeah.
It's not like Kyle Larson was extending the lead by tenths of seconds every time he was going around the track. This was more the fact that he was out front and he was able to run the preferred line the entire time. Now, I will say he blew up, but Carson Hocevar, had he gotten to the lead, I would have voted yes times a million on this race had he been able to get to the front and then run away with this thing, because Ross Chastain won from the back, yes, but in my opinion, Hocevar was the most impressive car all day. obviously before he exploded.
Yeah, I mean the Dente. He's just riding it all the way to the front. We were joking, we were talking, doing a lot of talk, which in the win the race Discord, it was
Yes.
popping on race day. Highly, highly, highly recommend getting in. Obviously, you get the sims and the betting tools and the practice reports and all that stuff to make good decisions. But the Discord, it's really fun, really interactive. Had a lot of fun. I do wonder if Hocevar is a serious candidate to be somewhere else next year. And I know with the
Where though?
manufacturers and that kind of stuff, it can be hard. But with Tim Cindric leaving Penske and there potentially being an opt out, obviously Austin's been pretty okay this year. JGR is what JGR is. I think Ty Gibbs is probably locked in, but Briscoe obviously top 3 day, but it's kind of been underwhelming. He's been basically what we saw at SHR. I don't know. I wonder if there's a team where if give him a little even better equipment and get him out of the Spire ride, which he's been doing really well with.
And that's what I was just going to say is because of their alliance with Hendrick, are other places actually better? I mean, both him and Michael McDowell are getting engines that are capable of putting it on the pole, running inside the top 10. Like they've got plenty of speed. So I don't see why Hocevar would want to make the move now, especially when they've taken that step here, especially going to say Penske, like the name is there, but they're clearly behind HMS engines in certain areas. And so,
I mean, depending on the week, they're behind other teams that they shouldn't be behind.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
and poor Ryan Blaney blows up again. And I mean, if Hocevar seeing that every week from the best driver, like he's like, no, I don't want a part of that. And then stupid freaking number 5. Every time I get that sweet CLV, he just does something so stupid because there is a potential.
Yeah,
that he was the one doing the ass kicking and not William.
And it looked like it early.
I mean, yeah, and maybe just like, and I thought, okay, well, he crashed out early in Indy, so he can get on the plane and get his mind focused. He's like, okay, I did something stupid at Indy. Let me go to Charlotte and figure it out. And no,
there isn't a truer example of checkers or wreckers than Kyle Larson
at Charlotte. 3 finishes outside the top 30 in his last 5 starts. That's not great.
Yeah.
But the other 2 were, I think, a win in the 7th or something. So like he's clearly, he's the Ricky Bobby. He's either your first or your last. Like there's no in between with this guy.
So does that make Carson Hocevar Cole Trickle?
I think isn't Cole Trickle from Days of Thunder?
Yeah, Days of Thunder. I mean, he's a young kid who just knows how to mash the gas, and he's like checkers or wreckers as well. I mean, the kid clearly has the capability of running up front, but it's him making a mistake on pit road or, I mean, Charlotte, his car blowing up that's preventing him from winning.
Well, let's talk about the one. You have the hat on. I have the shirt on. Ross the boss didn't think he was going to get there, and then he finds legs late, and I was like, he's not going to make it. Byron's going to hold him off.
No way.
He made it stick, and he made it stick early, and he was able to hold him off for that handful of laps. Obviously, Byron ended up tapping the wall. We both added him live. Or did you add him live?
I bet him post practice and qualifying. Yeah.
Okay. Because there were some good numbers on him.
Well,
I got in live. We even talked about it on the show. Or like, do we need to get him live? Do we wait? No, I probably want to get in. And of course, I didn't pull the trigger. I was too busy betting Alex Bowman, another doofus that should have been like a top 10 car. And
well, I think the issue is that many people were looking at the fact that he had to go to a backup car and how similar.
Yeah, but I think we were pretty confident in like that ultimate.
Oh yeah, no. I had zero worries. Having
Yeah.
been at the track the few times that I've been at and talking to some of the teams with the way that they are able to, transition these vehicles when they have to go to a backup. Like these guys, as they talked about on the broadcast, they worked all night essentially to get this thing set up.
I also think it helps that they were in Charlotte. If they were in Iowa,
Yeah, it's
it might have
much
been a
easier to
little
have
more
access to
difficult,
their
but they're
stuff.
like all hands on deck. People that had their day off came to the track to work on the cars, and they got it where it needed to be. So cash some tickets for us. It was also interesting because we'll look at the betting card here in a little bit, between going Chevy to win versus Hendrick to win, because obviously there's a little better number with Hendrick, but we're like, well, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, maybe there's something there. Give yourself that wiggle room, and I'm happy I did. So that was obviously beautiful to cash. Let's look at some DraftKings lineups. I'll pull them up. It's hard to win money when you go heavy on Kyle Larson and he wrecks basically within the first handful of laps.
Like 60 laps, I think or 40 laps we got, or something. I forget how many he actually ran.
Yeah. He ran, well, yeah, because he ended up crashing out, and then he came back, and then he crashed out again. So he only ran 245 of the 400. Let me pull up this screen, and let me put this on, and make sure you click that like button. Make sure you click the subscribe button if you get to do that. So many of you are watching every week and not subscribed. So obviously Larson was good until he wasn't good. Process over results. Got to remember that. Tyler Reddick was basically a top 4 car all day. And then I bet him to win, and then he crashed. That was really fun. Josh Berry was a roller coaster. He was in the front, he was in the back.
Was not as good as his finish says.
No. Brad Keselowski, if that race is another 100 laps, maybe he's the guy that ends up finding victory lane. He got that speed finally. It took him a long time to get there, but
it took him three and a quarter stages to find the practice speed.
But all of a sudden it was there. And then poor Austin Cindric. SVG.
SVG, baby.
Started 30th, finished 14th, had a great day.
And honestly, that's a true result for Shane. He ran mid-teens pretty much the entire day. And there were times when I actually thought I was going to cash that top 10 on him, depending on like other guys falling off or wrecking or having issues. But yeah, he was really good.
Yep. Bubba Wallace was incredibly frustrating.
Oh, he was ass.
Hocevar was great until he wasn't great. Suarez,
he was okay.
I don't know. We bet his top 10. I never felt like he had a chance.
Yeah.
And then obviously this was the one without Kyle Larson. We went William Byron. He was clearly the guy you needed. Byron was awesome. Chastain obviously started 40th, got there. Brad K was 35th, finished in the top 5. SVG.
Imagine if you didn't play Bubba.
I know. Just eat Bubba and Reddick. Like that's $1,700.
Let's be. Reddick was a good play. He was probably outside of Byron. Actually, outside of like Byron and Hocevar, and Chastain, obviously. But I think Reddick was the better top tier guy until obviously he had his little issues there at the end, because I think he got a pit road penalty, which made him go down a lap.
Yeah. Reddick got that penalty late that kind of killed any momentum he had of moving back to the front. So obviously not a fun day on DraftKings, but
hey, it wasn't any better on the betting card.
At least there I had Chevy to win 135.
Yeah, for you it was okay.
And I had Ross over Josh Berry. When I told you not to bet it, I didn't think he was going to win the damn race. I thought he was going to be like 11th and Barry would be like 13th.
Yeah.
And Barry finished about where I expected. Ross just was way ahead of where I expected.
Yeah, and mind you, that mine was pre-practice and qualifying. And if you did not see our show post, I said I would not have played that after practice.
Yeah, and it's frustrating we couldn't get any potential on the SVG. Like, obviously we bet the top 10 at a third number, but it would have been cool to find him in like a group or something that would have been, or maybe a matchup that we could have taken advantage of because we did both like him a lot, and obviously DraftKings was the place to play him. So yeah, Brian, we're not in as good of a place as we were like 2 weeks ago. Kansas kicked our ass, and then Charlotte was pretty dang close. I'm happy that I was able to kind of tread a little more water with my matchup and my Chevy to win.
Just call me the cooler because I'm ice cold right now, man.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out what to do so Brian doesn't look like this anymore.
Mind you, we did not talk about this before recording, so Kyle must have had that teed up ready to go.
Oh yeah. Brian looking at his betting card.
Oh my! Oh, that's some PTSD right there, my friend.
So we're having fun around here. Any other big takeaways or thoughts on the Coke 600 before we turn the page and talk a little Nash Vegas?
Yeah, they gotta change the stage lengths. The final stage should really be an endurance run. I mean, the fact that all 4 stages are equal length, that's stupid.
Yeah.
We should have like 85, 85, and then, split the third one up and maybe like 90, and then the last one way longer. Or I've pitched 90, 90, 90, and then 100 and I think it's like 130 or something. Yeah, 130 for the final stage. So that way we get 2 to 3 pit stops by guys. Like, this is supposed to be the ultimate endurance event for the sport. And when guys can essentially split each stage in half, I mean, it's allowing everybody to know when the caution or whatever is coming out. Like, the strategies there's zero strategy differences when it's like that.
Yeah. I think it's like 60, 90, 100, and then 150 for the final.
That would be pretty sick.
Yeah. It'll never happen, but it's fun to think about. Let's turn our attention and talk a little Cracker Barrel 400, where, shocking no one, Kyle Larson is the favorite. Dennis Hamlin right behind him. Christopher Bell. What was your takeaway from Bell's day at the Coke 600? Because there was points where he was contending. There was points where he was stuck in traffic, and then by the end of the day, he was just kind of whatever. Do you think they've found something between Kansas and Charlotte, and something as we roll into another mile and a half? You're going to be optimistic about his potential? Or do you think what we were kind of saying between the results at Vegas and Texas and the lack of speed, that's pretty indicative? Obviously, he can get there when he kind of figures that strategy stuff out, but fading him in matchups might not be the worst. Although I was looking at the results, and like the people that you technically want to fade him with were all behind him outside of like Ross or Byron or something. But like, I don't know what like, do you feel like you have a better idea of what to do with Bell after the Coke 600?
Well, first of all, let me just say, so Nashville, I'm not really looking at it as a direct comp to the other intermediates because it's a little flatter in the corners. There's going to be a lot more off throttle time. So I do think that actually benefits Bell.
Okay.
But going back to the conversation that you led off with here, I think last week kind of solidified my belief that Kansas was the outlier of this package this year. And we saw more of a return to what, the performers and not performers we had seen at the previous intermediates outside of Penske. Obviously, I don't know what happened to them after the All-Star break, but they look like doo-doo. But, Bell, he's openly admitted, like, they've been lacking speed in this package this year, which also part of me thinks that's by design in JGR looking to get better at the short tracks, which is where Penske makes their money in the playoffs and why they've won the last 3 championship races as we go to Phoenix to crown our champion. And so, when I go to Nashville, I think I take some of that away, but also it's kind of its own little animal in that it's flatter in the corners. There's not like super long straightaways. So the super high powered engines of HMS and all that aren't necessarily going to be what keeps you in front. And so, it makes it more difficult to try to pinpoint who should be the favorite or who's going to win, which is why the sports books too reopen again with 4 or 5 guys all inside 8-1 or 10-1.
Yeah. So given Larson, Hamlin, Bell, Byron, Blaney, and then Ross and Reddick are both 10, do you have any interest in the 10-1 or less?
Hell no. Okay, first of all, I'm not betting Ross Chastain at 10-1 anywhere. He won last week, that's fine, but 10-1, like first time we've seen speed out of that car in
I'm
like
looking
race
at
winning
like
speed.
our favorite offshore has a matchup with him against Chase Elliott.
Oh, I wouldn't touch that.
Because average ass, but maybe all we need is for him to be average.
Look, Chase Elliott, admittedly, I played a little Elliott at a much larger number than what's currently listed there. Concrete is his thing. That's his bag, baby, as Austin Powers would say. Concrete tracks. Elliott has won here. He finished 4th, I think, in 2023. Last year, he was running well inside the top 10 prior to the chaos that happened at the end of the race. Like, I think Elliott's going to be good this week. And going similar conversation as Bell, like the off throttle time actually helps him make up for the lack of overall speed in this package at other venues.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm gonna bet on Chase Elliott against.
Okay.
At a plus money number.
Yeah, he's like plus 110 or plus
120.
Yeah, plus 120. Yeah, so that actually opened. It was plus 130 in Vegas, and I thought about it. But this is possibly Chastain's like best track. He's been really good here. I just worry about his qualifying.
Well, at least he'll be in a good spot, but
maybe. I mean, think about it. He biffed it last week in practice, which they didn't even get to qualify. So he probably does that in qualifying this week too.
Okay. Well, we'll talk a little more. I got to figure out what I want to do because I feel like it's a good number, but
no, I don't hate it at all.
I feel like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth here because Ross has been good, as you mentioned. But let's talk outrights. So if we're not getting in at like 10-1 or shorter, no interest in Reddick at 10-1?
Hell no.
Gives us the hell no. Brian got burned after going back to that well. Let's talk a little Chase, Logano, Brad K, Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch. Those are kind of your inside 30-1. Anything tickling your fancy there?
How on this green earth is Brad Keselowski priced at 22-1?
Great question. I don't know.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. He's at a point in his career where I need to see it on Saturday, legit speed, and then get 25 or 30.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not betting him sub 25, sub 30, probably sub 30 anywhere we go before seeing them on track. I mean, like that's asinine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because somebody in the Discord said something and it made me laugh, and it's like also true that on the weeks where Brad looks fast and looks like he has long run speed, just bet Ryan Preece and you'll get better odds on the same car.
Pretty much.
And I was just dying. I was like, that's so true. So true.
And interestingly enough, I think that exact scenario plays out this week.
Where we get a good number on Ryan Preece and we just take that instead of Brad. And
he's going to be pretty much the same exact view. Preece is going to be strong this week, I think.
Yeah, I feel like he's just been awesome. Like he's been so good since going to RFK, even in the third car.
Look, and Ryan Preece was really good at JTG too. So it's not like he's unfamiliar with running well in the Cup Series. Like everybody sucked at SHR last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Bowman, Barry, Gibbs. Host Gibbs back into like the longer numbers where I don't know.
I can't touch him. Yeah.
Hocevar, Priest, Bubba at 50. Like, what's going on with the 23? Like, it seems to just have nothing.
Well, what's really interesting about them too is that leading up to last week in Charlotte, it seemed like they had really prioritized stage points early in the season as opposed to trying to battle for finishing results. And it's really helped them out in the standings. I mean, he's currently in the playoffs with a just based on points as opposed to last year. He was always kind of teetering on that cut line because they weren't getting the stage points in the races. And basically it's once you get in, then you can focus on trying to win races as opposed to during the regular season. It's such a battle of attrition. You need to kind of accumulate as many points as possible, especially for these guys that aren't in the top tier contender,
Yeah. So, is there anything from an outright perspective that you're interested in? Any darts you want to take? Any potential early CLV warriors? Anything you like?
Well, so
Oh, baby.
that is interesting that you say that because there is I do think this week you're going to get some CLV. Obviously, let's go to the CLV casino here. Michael McDowell at 200-1. He's going to be qualifying super late in the order. We've seen how quick they've been on Saturdays in qualifying. I mean, this is probably 100, maybe 80 come Sunday. Can he win the race? Probably not. But I think, for a fun type of thing, if we get the ultimate shenanigans once again, McDowell, like Chastain, they're super aggressive on tires. We saw 2 tires work for Chastain last year for quite some time in the final stretch here at Nashville before Denny passed him. So if you can look to anybody else to make that type of move, if it calls for it, it's going to be McDowell. So at 200, I don't mind taking whatever change you find in your couch and throwing it on that number, just expecting him to qualify really well and maybe look like they did this past week in practice at Charlotte.
Yeah, I think what you're hearing from Brian is names that might make sense for pole bets if they're long numbers.
Yeah.
Potentially qualifying head-to-heads. That could be interesting. I'm probably not betting him to win the race.
I haven't seen those in a while.
No. Josh Berry did qualify second here. Last year in the SHR car, so something to think about. We'll see kind of what the practice grid and kind of the qualifying order looks like before making decisions. Eric Jones at 150. I don't know. Like, none of this is like. Usually there's something where I can at least convince myself might have legs, and I can't even do that this week.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Although I'll bite the bullet here. I'm gonna play that McDowell Caesar's number.
Okay. Man, that CLV account has got to be spilling at this point. Why does it always seem like the weeks where we don't, like, we're coming off of a bad week, we have like a million bets we want to fire on, and the week where the account's chocked full thanks to an outright, we're like, what are we gonna bet? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good reason to not force anything.
I will say, let me also say, this has been talked about in the Discord, in the Win the Race Discord a lot this morning. And then this was actually the second outright I played. Again, very small amount. AJ Allmendinger at 100 in some places.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I also don't hate that top Chevy number. He's going to be qualifying as late as he has all season. He's coming off of a 4th place run in Charlotte where he ran pretty much right there the entire day. He's finished 11th and 10th the last 2 times we've come to Nashville, 19th the previous time before that. And he has top 10s in 4 of the 7 races that we've been in this package this year. So he's not scared of running up front with the big dogs. And this is the package that he's been most successful with so far in 2025 too.
Yeah. Looks like DraftKings has the plus 350 number. I'm gonna go ahead and add that for a top 10.
Oh
If
yeah, I'm definitely playing that.
if I'm playing Dinger stuff, I want to get paid out on it. I don't think he can win, but like top 5, top 10, top Chevy. I think maybe some groups that could be fun. So that is going on the card for show. Any other? Let me pull this over here. Anyone else standing out in like the top Chevy market? Obviously, Larson, Byron, Chastain. See, Byron or Chastain and Ross being basically the same price in top Chevy, and the fact that I can get plus money on them in a head to head, kind of interesting. No. All right. So Blaney blows up. Logano's a non-factor. Brad's taking a nap. Chris Buescher 6-1. Josh Berry 7.5.
I did
Peter.
play Busher at 7 in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
I don't
Priest
hate
10.
Priest either. But I think with Priest, because he's priced where he is, I don't think he's going to get as if he goes out and he looks great in practice, he's not getting shorter than 5 or 6. So I think you
Yeah.
can wait on him and wait to see what he brings on Saturday and then come back and play the 5 or 6 number and still feel good about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, and especially when you're talking about somebody who is kind of like a fringe guy.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
he makes
Whereas like
sense.
Busher, if Busher shows up with a really fast car in practice, that thing's going to be in that 3 to 4 range minimum.
Yeah.
Way closer to Blaney than closer to the Barry and Keselowski range.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I already hit a matchup that I went rather heavy with in Vegas.
All right, where do I get to matchups now? Because I feel like it used to be able to like click on things.
Oh, you got
And
to
now
reload, homie.
they've changed their like outlook, or maybe it's just the way.
No, don't zoom out. Don't zoom out. Remember, we don't want side
Oh yeah, no, that's
match
not
bets.
done. Oh yeah, good call. Um, yeah, like minus 110 here, but like I can get plus 120.
And where's the plus 120?
Our favorite offshore.
Oh.
And so that, like, everybody saw, well, Ross just won, so they're rolling over those Ross.
Yeah, that's a good
winnings.
point.
Let's see. Usually you can get it here. It's
Race matchup, dude.
yes. Yeah. Plus 120.
Oh yeah, see, I don't hate that at all. The only thing there is that because Elliott has been so bad at qualifying, I don't know. I don't see that number. You're probably going to miss out on the plus 120, but you'd probably feel better waiting to see that Elliott shows up with a good car in practice or maybe qualifies better than expected. And then you can get it at still like maybe even or minus 110.
Yeah, but like at that point, I don't really think it's value there. I think if I can get the Caesars price, I'd have no interest at minus 110. But
Well, at the moment, yeah, because we don't know what the cars are going to look like. But
I just feel like that's just overreaction theory. Like our friends that win the race have it fair at minus 122, just for shits and giggles.
yeah.
So,
I mean, we are the show that kind of talks
we
crap
love
about
to grab that CLV and just let
well
that
the
stuff.
CLV, but not with Elliott. We haven't.
Exactly. So if I'm willing to go to the well there, that tells you where I'm at. Let me see if they have the other one. Oh yeah, the other one that I'm interested in potentially is Reddick at plus 100 versus Blaney.
See, I would much rather play the 12.
I'd much rather bet the 12 to win. But if you're telling me one of them has to make it around the track the whole time, I think the 45's got a much better shot at doing that than the 12.
Does he though? Blaney got taken out, not again, like it wasn't his fault.
Okay.
Whereas like Reddick, he sped on pit road while running inside the top 7 the entire day. Like Blaney hasn't had any of those problems.
I mean, so I guess the ones where Blaney's bad, it really stands out. But Phoenix 28th, Vegas 35th, Homestead 36th.
Those are wrecks.
I know.
Blaney was the best, but the thing is Blaney was probably the best car in Vegas, Homestead, like Texas, all of the places that he's wrecked at. He's probably been the best or top 3.
Right, but you don't get paid out on probablys and should have been, so you get paid out on
you want to bet the best car.
Well, I'm just saying for a guy, and then he went 11th, 5th. He was 37th at Dega, Texas, Kansas. He was 3rd and 3rd. North Wilkesboro, obviously the All-Star race, weird stuff, and then 38th at Charlotte. So it's not a crazy number in the plot plus. It's not somebody that I'm dying to get action on, so I'm probably not going to do it. I'm just saying I'm thinking about it given what we've seen.
I think they're both too questionable right now to want to play either side.
On a matchup, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, so I almost played Reddick. It was -120 prior to the green flag on Sunday, just based on vehicles, which was the right side. But I stayed away, obviously, with the assistance and some other banter from someone else in the space. But like, I don't know if I can really bet 23-11 right now, just what we've seen. Like, can't pass. They don't really, like, Reddick doesn't have the race winning kind of aura about him right now. And Bubba has been out to lunch, and Riley Herbst sucks at the moment. And so, yeah, I just think that whole team is really needs a reset, which should have happened during the All-Star race and apparently didn't.
Yeah. The question is, did Trackhouse actually get a reset? Or did they just come with really good cars to Charlotte and Ross wins? SVG has a really good day and Suarez does what Suarez does.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there is no coincidence that Trackhouse showed up faster post All-Star break, as we're only 3 weeks from heading to Mexico City, where their driver is going to be the most popular and most sought after interview of the weekend. They're going to probably have 3 of the 4. Man, they're probably going to have the 3 shortest odds on the week to win the race. Suarez is going to be
we need to fade the hell out of Trackhouse in Mexico, right?
I don't think so.
It's like when golfers go to their like main sponsor and they're like doing press and all kinds of extra charity.
William Byron just almost won at home.
Yeah, but
it feels
different.
Hendrick won at Darlington while they were celebrating the 40th anniversary of HMS. So
that's true. It's not like Ricky Fowler going to the Rocket Mortgage, I think is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I don't think there's any coincidence that they showed up like that, especially too as we go to Nashville, which is kind of considered Trackhouse's pseudo home track anyways. I mean, they have Tootsie's, which is in Nashville as one of their primary sponsors. That's probably going to be Suarez's car this week. And then after that, we go to Michigan, where, I mean, who knows? Maybe they go out to lunch there, but I fully expect them when we get to Mexico City. Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain now apparently, SVG, and Connor Zilic are all going to be priced 10-1 or shorter. And it's going to be gross. Maybe 12-1, I think, for maybe Suarez as the longest guy.
Yeah, he's probably like 15, 18, but yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, well, I added the average ass. We're on team average ass this week. It's interesting that Logano's -125 against Brad, but Brad's like inside 30-1.
Well,
Shows
Logano's
you.
inside 30.
I guess it's true.
And 2, who's going to qualify better?
Joey.
I think Keselowski could be the last person out in qualifying and still qualify outside the top 20.
Yeah. And as I sent Brian a text yesterday, I think. There was a book that had 3 markets that were basically if they all hit, they're all the same results. And one was -1, or one was +120, 125, and 130. Shop for good numbers. Look at other ways to bet the exact same thing if you really like it. If you can bet a top 4 versus a top 5, if it's going to be close enough, if you're going to get a group where you can get a good number rather than taking if the top 10 is plus 240, but you can get them in a group with a bunch of other jabronis and he could get 16th and win the group at plus 225 or even 215. Do that, because betting this sport is hard. Or if you can find the same numbers, or you have multiple books, or whatever the case may be, find ways to get the best of the number, because books be doing stuff, and everything's an independent market, and people are betting it differently. So just shop around, figure it out. We're always here to help if you have questions about the best way to attack it. I think DraftKings actually had some odds and like head-to-heads and stuff. We should see if they have anything.
And yeah, Kyle skipped over it, but Chris Buescher -115 over Tyrone Gibbs. Smash that shit.
Smash that shit.
Yeah, I'm crushing that.
Yeah. Is that like your Ross Chastain over Josh Berry, or your Josh Berry over Ross Chastain?
This one is more about their race day performances. Buescher has beaten Gibbs in 7 of 7. What did I see this morning? 7. He's 7-2 against Gibbs outside of the super speedways this year or something.
Yeah.
And I trust Chris Buescher far more than Tyrone in a race anyways.
Yeah. -115 here. All right. Top Toyota. Anything there tickling your fancy? No. Anything you like?
What is Briscoe? Oh, he's 9. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Anything else you want to look at? I'm gonna look at some like Bet Rivers or something.
Well, so Caesars does have qualifying odds out right now.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
Talk dirty to me.
Yeah, they're dropping their stuff early this week.
Props? No, qualifying. All right. Dennis, Larson, Byron, Chastain, Elliott, Josh Berry, Logano, Hocevar.
Well, you got to think he wrecked, so he's going to be going out.
McDriver at 35.
I was just going to say, so McDriver at 35 and AJ Allmendinger at 45 are my 2 favorites.
Done. Added.
Especially if the 16 shows up with the similar equipment that they did last week in Charlotte, when, again, he went out 6th. Not 6th to last, 6th, and maintained a top 5 starting position. That is ridiculous in this season of current qualifying format.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll both lose, but that value feels nice. CLV Casino comes through. If we get into, is this a 1 round of qualifying?
It's always 1 round. There is no, the only place that there's 2 rounds are Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta. Which makes no friggin' sense that they do it at super speedways.
Maybe they're just giving the cars more time to be on the track because they know they're going to wreck really quickly.
But they don't anymore. They ride around like our grandparents on Sunday after church.
Hocevar?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's too short.
Yeah. Barry at 8 is hilarious.
Honestly, I'm kind of curious of Priest's number at 33. I know he's struggled at qualifying this year as well, but another solid performance out of him. He's going to be going late again in the order. Eventually, they've got to bring some type of speed in single lap on Saturdays. I mean,
Do they?
I would freaking hope so. But this is probably all moot because it's probably going to be William Byron claiming the pole again. He's plus 650. I don't hate playing that.
What about Dinger in this group against Heim, Jones, and Gregson?
I mean, if we're renting a room at the CLV casino, we're playing that.
Imagine if you could use your CLV for renting hotel rooms.
Oh my gosh, dude, I'd be in the penthouse all the time.
Oh yeah. Upgrade me, please. Thank you. Concierge service, bottle service to the room, all the good stuff.
It'd be fantastic.
Busher in a group with Barry, Gibbs, and Bowman.
I do kind of worry about both Barry and Bowman.
They'll all finish between like 11th and 16th or something.
Yeah, I feel like that one's a little bit too evenly matched there.
Yeah. Well, now we're just sitting with dead air. So anything you want to look at before we get out of here? Any fastest lap people that we should consider?
So I think similar to the qualifying stuff, I think you can go down the board and find guys that are
33
expected to be fast, and maybe because of pit cycles, like they catch a caution at the right time and they're the first guy on fresh tires. Like, who knows? And also, you have to consider this race is being run at night with a green flag time of 7 p.m. Eastern. So the track is going to be sticky. It's going to be cool. Yeah. Speeds are going to be fast as hell, which...
Yeah, I know our East Coast viewers probably don't love it, especially when Monday's not a holiday. But for us West Coast boys...
Oh, I love this. Yeah.
I kind of loved it. The Coke 6 being on when it was instead of being at like noon sure helps the day as like a dad, just like getting stuff done in the morning so you have plenty of time to lock in the afternoon and enjoy the hell out of it. All right, well, let's look at the bet tracker.
Okay. There's a... Oh, okay. I do think, though, interesting little prop here, since we pulled it up. If you go back to laps, or not laps, go to props. Oh, damn it, it already moved. Okay, so over 114.5 average speed of the race, I think we're probably going to eclipse that by a fair margin. So last year it was 108, but that's because we had 6 million restarts at the end of the race. So you have to account for all of the caution laps that we ran. And then when you go back to 2021, the last race in the Gen 6 car, it was 113.7. 2022, we did 111. There was also a shitload of cautions in that race. But then in 2023, when there was only 4 cautions, the average speed of the race was 132 miles per hour.
Sure, but so you're banking on cautions not happening, which doesn't.
We're getting a cool track, so it's not going to be as slick. Guys aren't going to be slipping and sliding around.
Yeah, their tires are going to get ripped up, and Bubba's going to be crashing into the wall, and people are going to be blowing stuff, and Ryan Blaney's
but that's what I'm saying. Like, this either crushes the over by 10, 15 miles per hour, or barely hits the under. So even if this gets to like 115, because I'm pretty sure it was 112 when we passed over it the first time, I think it's definitely live to play that.
Yeah, I think what you do is bet the under now. Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go average speed of race, 114.5 under at plus 100. And then I want to remind me to revisit this. So when it's like 117, 118 at a decent number.
And then it's going to hit it. It's going to go 116 and you're not going to middle it. And you're going to lose both.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
I think you play the over now and then you play the under at 117. Come back.
You're juicing on both sides. I don't like that. All right. Yeah. So I have Dinger top 10. I have the average ass over watermelons. I appreciate you winning at Coke 6, Ross, but now I need you to lose to the average ass Chase Elliott. And then I'm going McDriver and the Dinger on the pole, 35 and 45 at a average pace. Brian has McDriver at 200 for that CLV love. Busher over Gibbs at minus 115. Dinger to top 10, and he's taking his average speed of the race. You know what? I'm just going to do it.
You're going to play the under?
You. Yeah. I'm going to do that just to fade you. Is there a way to actually track this so we can account for it at the end?
What do you mean?
Like, is there, like, we're able to see at the end? Because, like, usually some of that stuff we bet it, but you get to see what it is. But
well, yeah, you just you'll be able to tell if like say stage 1 goes green the whole time, you're going to be well in line of crushing the over.
All right, well, I'm taking the under, and I'm gonna win.
I'm
Damn it.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm gonna leave it too. Stupid bets. We're having fun over here with that. I like these. I think it's my favorite bet. Don't
I
get
do like
too
the full
invested.
bets. I don't know. I might
They're
add
fun.
those.
They're fun.
Yeah.
They're fun, and it gives us something on Saturday to like either give us a jump start or have a rooting interest in kind of what happens. So. Hi, Brian Twining. It's good to get back. It was good to be have fun. Hopefully this video doesn't get taken down like our episode last week, but I think we should be good. Oh, there's a new one, new edition. Byron to the pole. What's that number? Dinger to the pole and
I'm just playing
McDriver.
all three of them.
What's Byron's number?
650.
Oh. Yeah, that feels fine.
Now, obviously, you might want to wait. Like maybe by the time you're watching this, you have another couple of markets that have pole position. So keep an eye out for those. But
Yep.
yeah, I do think Byron going out probably last. It's going to have a significant advantage over the rest of the field.
Yeah. And we have later qualifying too, so that'll be interesting to see how that impacts everything. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Hopefully you crush at the Coke 600. Hopefully you're ready to dive into the Cracker Barrel 400 odds. Drop comments. Let us know if you have questions. Feel free to hit us up on the X Machine, at Notorious KRO, at Brian_Twining. Go check out our friends over at Win the Race. Hop up in the Discord, get in the membership, all that good stuff. Head over to Grid Rival. AOP 25 gets you a $100 match deposit bonus. My triple for Indy, Monaco, and the Coke 6 was one position by George Russell from hitting, which I feel like is how it always works for me. And of course, Brian had one where he needed Barry inside 12.5 and he gets 12. So some of us are on the right side of history and some of us aren't. And betting in it, there's a lot going on with Brian's sheet. As a reminder, all of our sheet and our bets and our thoughts will be up on our Substack, which is completely free. Appreciate everybody who checked that out this week. Some good numbers over there. AOPpodcast.substack.com. Once again, AOPpodcast.substack.com. With that being said, Brian's just messing with the sheet, getting real loose over here. Brian and I will be back to record Saturday night in your feed Sunday morning. Make sure you are subscribed so you get that as soon as it drops. As a reminder, if you miss any episodes and you can't find it on YouTube for whatever reason, we are on Spotify, iTunes, all those places. But really appreciate everybody who comes into YouTube, subscribes, clicks the link, all that good stuff. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.